Here for game 1 of round 1 of the daily I went through with my deck. So this hand was not the greatest, but I will hope to keep it not knowing what his deck was, and most decks in the format use a lot of artifacts, so I figured 3 Steel Sabotages should tide me over until something important happened. My opponent goes for Treasure Mage here. We go for the Throat It so we can land our Neural Commando and hopefully start beating in. So it looks like he has another Treasure Mage here. That was kind of annoying, but he did not get another 6-drop, which means his hand is full of 6-drops. So that's nice for us. We know he's short on land, so we Steel Sabotage his Sphere. And now we're just going to wait things out until we can get going. So he goes for an Inkmoth Nexus here. Normally I'd bounce this, but I know he's missing land drops, so I don't want to give him just let him replay the Inkmoth Nexus next turn. So we draw a Grasp of Darkness here, which is very nice for us. That sets us up to kill his Treasure Mage and start beating in next turn. So we get here, and we get to attack and draw a card. Neural Commando is just fantastic on these open boards. There's very few things I can deal with a setup like this. Now, Contagion Clasp was not that effective at that point in the game, but I decided to get rid of it because we have 2 extra Steel Sabotages in hand, and if the game turns to worst, he does have poison on us, and I have been killed by proliferated poison before, so it's something I did not want to deal with. Fortunately for us, he keeps on missing land drops, and we kill his Inkmoth Nexus, and we have a handful of counter spells, so the game is pretty much over. So let's go on to game 2 of round 1. I didn't make any sideboard changes because I believe our main board is as well suited as it can be against his opponent. We draw a Darkslick Shore, which is just an amazing top deck there. A great way to get your mana, helps you play your Neural Commando and your Grasp of Darkness early in the game. So he plays another Treasure Mage. We kill it so we can hopefully drop our Nurok and get into draw cards there. So we play our Nurok. Hopefully he doesn't have another creature drop. He does not. We'll get to attack again. Draw a card. Lay another Nurok and another island and Steel Sabotage. So things are looking pretty up for us. Unfortunately, we just have a bunch of removal in our hands. It would be nice to actually have like a Consecrated Sphinx at this point. So our opponent drops a Mirror Crusader, which is actually pretty good against us. And wow, there's an Elspeth. We really wanted to Stoke Rebuttal that if we had it, but we did not. So we're forced to Black Sun Zenith away the board, or we would have died too quickly there. Now we're looking for a Carnifex or a Consecrated. He's got a Telemagnet there. We counter that because we need to get in to kill his Elspeth if we can. Unfortunately, we just draw more removal. So he plays another Mirror Crusader, and he's going to start beating it for 7 damage a turn next turn as we continue to draw land. So here he attacks for 7, gains 4 life, and passes the turn back to us. We draw another land. He attacks for 7, makes 3 more creatures, and he's lethal next turn. Fortunately, we draw the Consecrated Sphinx. That's what we needed to draw. Unfortunately, I make a misplay in this coming turn. It looks like he's got not much in his hand because he didn't counter that. So he goes for a Contagion Engine here. I didn't bother because I knew I could still kill the Mirror Crusader. But the problem is that the Contagion Engine mattered in the long run, and I should have killed it. I should have countered it. I also used the wrong removal there. I should have used the Go for the Throat. So I'm able to get Elspeth down to 1. That's a real problem with the Contagion Engine. If I had not let it through, I would have been able to kill Elspeth outright. Instead, I have to bounce his land there. And he plays the Spine of Ishtal. So things are not looking the greatest for me. He gets a +2 Elspeth again. We get to play another Consecrated Sphinx. And if we draw any spells, we should be fine here actually. Even though we had a misplay, I think we're still playing a little bit better. And if we draw anything but lands, we're going to do pretty well. So we block here because we can't let our opponent get to proliferating us because he's at such a high life total. So we're drawing a lot of lands right now. We drew another Carnifex, which was nice, but we really want to see a Stoke Rebuttal by this point, and we don't see one. So we're forced to Skin Render and Go for the Throat to make sure we stay alive. We do it here now because we don't want him to top deck another Stoke Rebuttal. We get to draw 2 cards. He proliferates now, which makes no sense, but I guess it's fine for him. We get to attack here and play Carnifex. Unfortunately, we're not going to get another set of draws with Consecrated, and we're still kind of flooded. So he starts proliferating our Carnifex Demon, which doesn't really matter. I mean, it forces us to kill our Flesh Skin Render, but we're going to have to do that eventually anyway, so it's not a big problem. I always make sure I keep 1 counter or more on the Carnifex, just so I can use it to kill Inkmoth or Elspeth tokens. So he goes to Inkmoth here. We kill it off with the Carnifex. Again, we're drawing more land. So things are not looking the greatest right now. He starts proliferating us, but it doesn't matter. We're just spending mana to regrow his power. Unfortunately here, he figures out he can just Divine Offering his own Spine, since we have no targets in our deck for Spine to hit. And not Spine, I mean Divine Offering to hit. And he spines away our Carnifex, and we have nothing to do. Skinrender can't even be played on an empty board because he kills himself. So he goes here with the Precursor Golem. We do finally top deck something, and it is an answer to Precursor Golem, but unfortunately he has a Steel Sabotage to bounce the Precursor back to his hand. In fact, the Steel Sabotage does nothing against our deck besides bounce his own cards back to his hand. So he plays Precursor Golem again, and this is the biggest annoyance, drawing Phyrexian Rager when you're at 1 life. So that game is over. We made a few misplays, and we had a little bit of bad draws. That happens. So we're going to go for game 3. Things will turn out a little bit better here, as you saw. So we start off with a iffy hand. We do have counterspell mana and 2 counterspells in hand, so I figured we'd keep it. Drawing that Black Sun Zenith was the worst. You don't want to see 2 of those that early in the game, at least. So we let that through because we have no action in our hand. We want to make sure we can counter his action. Fortunately for us, he's stuck on land, so that's just really nice. We play a Phyrexian Rager. He counters it, which I would not do really ever, unless you have a Planeswalker in your hand, which he did have, so we'll give him that. It's really annoying for him to get the Venser in play, but we still have some action if we draw a land. We do have 27 lands, though, so that is really nice. So we have to counter this, because if we don't, he's going to start balancing his Treasure Mage to get a ton of Spine effects. We play our Carnifex. Hopefully he doesn't have anything. We couldn't play the Consecrated Sphinx, because if he did have a... he could block with the Inkmoth Nexus if we did it the right way. Contagion Engine doesn't matter there. It's not very good against Carnifex at all. So we turn Carnifex into a 5/5. He starts bouncing his Sphere. So things are looking a lot better for us. We get to attack his Venser here. He tries to dispense us, but we have the Stoic Rebuttal. So we're looking a lot better now. He plays a Precursor Golem, which is not a problem because we have Carnifex Demon. Carnifex Demon works very well with Black Sun Zenith, as you'll see here. He gets to empty all of his counters, then we get to put more counters back on him and on all of our opponent's creatures. So not only do we kill his team, we reloaded our Carnifex. He kills the Inkmoth Nexus. Things are looking pretty good. So we get to attack here for another 5. That drops him to 9. He's looking dead pretty soon. Consecrated Sphinx is a must counter for him here. He has the counter, so that's good for him. Let's see if we can continue on with this. So it looks like he doesn't have anything else. He top decked the Seachrome Cuss, as you can tell there. And we play our Geth. If he has a counter for this, he does not. So it looks like it's game. And that was game.